Welcome to For the Love of Art with me, Angela Pearden. Today we will be painting this honeybee in watercolor. You can find all the traceables to all of my tutorials in my Facebook group, For the Love of Art. The colors we're going to be using today are, let's see, we're going to do yellow ochre, which is this right here, raw sienna. We're going to do Jaune Brilliant Light, Ivory Black, Indigo. We're going to use Bleedproof White by Dr. P.H. Martin. And then we're going to be using Iridescent Gold Fine by Golden Fluid Acrylics. Okay, let's get started. I'm going to go in with my script liner, 6/0. And the first thing we're going to go ahead and put in is the little antennas. So we'll go into the ivory black. We're just going to lightly put this in. Let me turn it so I can do it better. Already turning it. There we go. That's much better. And I want it a little thicker on this one. Get a little bit more paint on that brush. And there we go. And we'll do this next one right here. It connects to it. And there we go. This is a teeny tiny painting. I'm going to lift up that little line that I accidentally put in there after this dries. Otherwise I'll just kind of smear it. I'm going to go with my I don't know how to pronounce it, Fuumuui extended pointed liner brush. And I'll go ahead and put in my little mouth bits. So, I'm going to load that brush up better. I'm going to bring it to a nice point. And we'll go into the, let's see, we'll go ahead and put in the eye. So you want to leave a little bit of space out for the little white bit of the eye. If not, then we can go back over it with a bleedproof white at the end of the painting with our touch-ups. Bleedproof white is water soluble. So once you put it down, you really can't go over it with any other colors because the white will overpower that color. You know, make it very cloudy color. It'll alter the color. Okay. You can go ahead and put in this little leg here. Make sure that when you trace out your the traceable, use the gray graphite, not the dark black graphite, because you want the lines as light as possible. And all the stuff that I use, I went ahead and put in the description below, so that if you would like to purchase it off of Amazon, you can. This is a very tiny painting right here. I think I'm painting on like a, I think it's like a, it's an odd, I cut it myself out of my watercolor paper, so it's a very odd number, but I believe it's like a 10 by 7 or 6.5. But I'll be tearing the edges down. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and turn it just a little bit. And all this where it doesn't connect will be, there will be little furry bits of the bee. So I'm going to go on with my liner. And then come out on either side here. Make the little fuzzy bits. See, we're going to skip this little one right here because that one's a little further in the background, so it won't be as dark. Okay, now we'll go in with a liner brush. Kind of pull out the little leg bits. Okay. There we go. Now go in with a bit more of this black. I left my lines a little darker so that they can show up on camera better, so I didn't erase them all the way. And take a little bit of water. And so the watercolor paper that I use is Fabriano Artistico hot press. Well, no, this is cold pressed 140-pound watercolor paper. I'm in the habit of saying hot pressed when it's cold pressed. Okay, bring that to a little point there. Then we'll take our liner brush. Pull out those little bits. I don't know the anatomy of a bumblebee. Okay. Now we will go in and put in this little piece, and I'm going to add a little bit more water to my brush because it's further in the back, so it's going to be a lighter value. Go. And this one actually comes down just a little further, right into that belly, which that'll be covered in little hairs. And then this comes down just a little bit like that. And that goes right up into that. There we go. Now we're going to start in with the face. And I'm going to go in with the lightest color first, which will be the Jean Brilliant Light. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this. What you want to do is go in the direction of the hair growth. So I'm going to start about right here, and I'm going to put in some teeny tiny hairs. Probably won't be able to see it very well because it's such a light color. Just kind of flick them out. And so I'm just going to kind of pull this in all my lightest areas. And then we have some light area around the eye here. And tap that in. Okay, now we're going to go out on that. And we're going to come actually over top of this area just a little bit. Kind of. It's okay if they bleed together. Just go in the direction of the hair growth. Okay, so I can kind of push that back a little bit. Let's see, we got a little bit up here as well. So we'll kind of pull it out, the little hair strokes. It may look like a hot mess at first, but it'll come together. You just have to trust the process. There we go. Now I'm going to go in with the next lightest color would be the raw sienna. It looks darker on the palette, but it's not. It's actually lighter than the yellow ochre. So now I'll pull some of that in. Just little wispies. Let me make that a little bit more wet. I'll make this a little more wet as well. This is a pipette. It's in the description below. I like to use it for putting water on my palette. Okay, let's try that. That'd probably be a little bit better. There we go. Get the paints loosened up a little bit. Kind of go in the direction of the hair growth. Now we'll go up this side. Just kind of pull it from top to bottom. This is a very tedious little painting. It's actually easier to paint it if it's bigger. Now we'll go on the top here. Kind of flick that out. Okay. Now I'm going to go over the top of that with a little bit of my mixing white. I need to add some water to that. So I'll just add a drop or two. And yes, I'm not a traditional watercolorist. I do use other mediums in with my watercolor paintings. So, and that just dissolves right up just like any other watercolor would. So now I'm going to go over the top of this. But I'm not going to go in where the black is going to go, because then it'll just make it more cloudy. Just want to put in a few little pieces right here. And there we go. we'll go into the black. I'm going to go into the lighter value of that black. And I chose the ivory black in the Phoenix watercolor because it has more of a brown hue to it than the lamp black. Okay. So I'm going to go along this little section right here. Go right to the edge of that. There we go. Now we'll get a little bit darker. And then we'll go up along the edge of that. Okay. I'm going to make that just a titch darker, but my paint is drying, so let's add a drop in. And there we go. We get a little bit of a deeper color there. Much better. There we go. Now we will go all the way up to this side of the eye. So we're laying over the layer that we already put down. So I'll go with the John Brilliant Light. Actually, I need to go this way. There we go. All the way up to the edge of the eye. Just kind of fill in that with that color. And that's okay if this mixes in with a blended mixing white. There we go. Do the same thing on this side, kind of pull some more out. There we go. And I'll go in with a raw sienna. Right up along the edge of that. And you want to layer this because each layer is transparent, that each layer will shine through. And there we go. Now we're going to go ahead into the blacks. And there's a little bit of black in here, little pieces right along the top of this. So we're going to pull that in all the way to the tip of this eye. And there we go. Now we're going to go around the edge here with very tiny little strokes coming on up. It's okay if this black blends in with the mixing white. Let's see. And this kind of will blend in together with the next piece. There we go. Pull a little bit up certain areas so it blends in good to the previous layer. Okay. Let's see. And then we'll go from here. I'm going to turn it. Kind of blend into the first little bit and then come on out. And there we go. And then we'll come from this direction and start turning it upward. And make them very wispy. There we go. Let's see, we need to add a little bit more throughout here. A little bit more wispier. There we go. And add a little bit more around the mouth here. And then let's see. That's good. Okay. Now I'm going to go ahead and add in a little bit more of that mixing white. Go right on top of that black. Let's add a little bit more dimension to it. And we're just layering right now. There we go. And I'm going to go ahead and with a raw sienna. It's a matter of just getting all the layers put in there. Go right up along that edge. Okay. Now we need to make this look a little fluffier, not more like a porcupine. So I'm going to take the more diluted black here. I'm going to go ahead and turn this upside down. There we go. Take that diluted black. You do want the tips to be thinner than the base. Okay, take a little bit more. You want it to kind of look fuzzy. There we go. That's a lot fuzzier. Now we'll go ahead and right in here one last time. Kind of help to fuzz that out a little bit. Okay. And we will touch up as we go as well. I can touch up that bit before we move on so I don't forget. So I'm going to take my mixing white, which is very powerful. Not my mixing white, excuse me, my Bleedproof white. Mixing white is acrylics. Okay, so now I'm going to, oh no, I need to go in with a smaller brush for that. Alright, just the tip of this. I'm going to go ahead and dab in between these two. Kind of get rid of that little line. There we go, it's gone. And then I'll go in and kind of bring it out a little longer once that dries. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead in with this little section right here. And it's the same thing, going with the Jean Brilliant Light. And so this little section is going to be darker, and a little bit of dark will come out here. So let's see. And you want to go in the direction of the little hair growths. So we're going to go by this little circle. So just go around and kind of, this doesn't have to be fine lines right here. Just kind of paint it in. And pull it pretty far down. And all the way this way. Bring it down just a little further. So start in the middle of this first line, start in the middle and pull it down. There we go. Now we'll go ahead and do this area. So this will come from the center out. I'll go ahead and put in some more detail in here in a little bit. Okay. Now we're going to go in with a what is it? The raw sienna. So we're going to get a little neater with our strokes. It's kind of a little more sparingly. And yes, we're going to be putting a little bit of black in here, but that's all right because it'll follow it. And we do need to go a little bit further down. So now I'm going to go a little darker and further down. And a little closer together than what we did up here. Okay. Let me do the top of that. Do a couple little in here, and then we'll go closer together when we come outside of that line with it. There we go. Now come all the way outside of that line. And continue to go in with the direction of the hair growth. There we go. Now we're going to go in with a, which one? The yellow ochre. Now this is going to be much darker. There we go. And we will fuzz this out in a little bit. Okay. Let's see where we're going. I'm going to put a little bit, dab a little bit in here. Just dab it in, just a couple little spots. Then we'll pull a little bit out. There we go. Now we're going to go into the Brilliant Jaune light again. And we're going to go ahead and blend this out with it. We have to do a couple layers to get it where we need it. Okay. And try and blend those colors in together so they look more like little clumps of hair versus individual hairs. Okay, I'll do the same thing down here. Kind of blend them together. Put a little bit of that over this darker that we did to kind of push it back a little bit. Alright. I'm going to take a little bit of the raw sienna. Raw sienna. And then pull a little bit in through here. I'm not doing teeny tiny strokes. I'm actually putting a little more pressure on my brush, make it a little bit wider stroke to blend that in, so we can get it looking fluffy. Like fuzzy. And there we go. Now we'll go in with a little bit of the yellow ochre. There's some water right here. I'm going to dilute it down a little bit with water to make it a little bit more of a lighter tone. I'm going to go ahead and fill that in so it becomes a little fuzzier. And each one of these layers will shine through. So now I'm going to go in with a darker value of the ivory black. Now I want to kind of join these two in together. kind of flick it in there. There we go. Okay. I'm doing little bitty lines as his head comes kind of up to a point right here. Okay. There we go. Let's go down here a little bit with it. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and, now that this is dry, I'm going to bring this out just a titch more. And there we go. Much better. Now we'll go in on the bottom here. So now we're going to start in where this white meets the yellow. Same direction of fur. Now let's make it a little bit more fluid. There we go. You want it to move smoothly. And we'll get it to blend in better here in just a little bit. It takes a couple layers. Okay, and then we'll go all the way down. There's a bunch of little lines going in the direction of the fur growth. And then this goes kind of like that right there. Just at the tip. Okay, now we're going to go in with a darker value. Okay. Just pull in these little wispies. There we go. Now I'm going to go in with a little bit of the raw sienna. This is still wet, and that's okay. I'm just going to tap in just a little bit under here. Get a little thicker paint, not so diluted, so the value is a little stronger. There we go. Just tap in a little bit. So I'll go in with a Jean Brilliant Light. I need to pick some more water up off the palette here. There we go. My palette dries out very quickly due to my lights. It's a little bit more watered down, but that's okay. Just gonna go ahead and dab in a little bit of that right in there. Okay. Now before we blend all this, I'm going to go ahead and with some of the black around in this area. Put a little drop of water in there, or two. I think that was 2 or 3 drops. Get it a little bit more fluid again. There we go. So there's just a little bit of hair starting here. And then it kind of pulls a little bit through here. And we'll blend this in better in a little while. Okay. Just pulling little tiny strokes, going in the direction of the fur growth. Okay. Right up to where that little wing meets the body. Okay. Just some teeny tiny brush strokes. Very light hand. And we can blend this in a little better here in just a little bit. Okay. The other bee that I did, it took me about 9 hours to do it. This is a shorter version of it. I did so much blending, and that's why it looked so realistic, because it took me a very long time to do it. If y'all want a more detailed painting of this bee, let me know. Okay, and this kind of blends in. Let's see. So these little guys come out just a little bit further. And there we go. You can crisscross them. Because when they're little wispies like that, the little hairs crisscross. Kind of like eyelashes when you're drawing or painting eyelashes. They're going to cross over. Each lash will cross over. Okay. And then I'm going to go in with, let's see, we need to add a little bit more white in there. So I'm going to go in with my mixing white, and I'm going to kind of pull a little bit through. This will help me blend out the layer as well. Not the mixing white, the bleed-proof white. I'm sorry about that. I'll go over this with black again here in just a little bit. I turn my painting a lot because I have something going on with my hand. I'm trying to figure out what it is. So it's hard for me to paint in odd directions like I used to. I'll pull that out just a little bit. And then we'll do one more layer over this. I'm going to go in with a, what is it, the raw sienna. Kind of help to blend that out. Kind of just tap it in. I'm not doing like little tiny brush strokes. I'm kind of more or less tapping it in there. Same thing in here. Kind of just tap it in. Okay. Now I'll go in with a little bit more of that black, and now I'm going to pull it. Long, tiny little strokes. There we go. Little long, thin brush strokes is what I was trying to say. With a very light hand. Okay. Make this a little fuller in here. Where the body meets the little bum. And there we go. Now we're going to go on this section again. Kind of darken that up, fill it in a little more. Go a little bit of darker red in here. Kind of pull it out, let it blend in with the orange. There we go. He's looking kind of cute. You need a little bit more. I'll use a little bit of mixing or Bleedproof white. And I'm going to put just a little bit of highlights in here to blend that just a little better. There we go. And I'm going to take my little scrubber brush. It's just a stiff to bristle flat brush. I'm going to go into this eye right here, and I'm going to pull out a little bit of color. Let it kind of, there we go. And that can dry. And then I'm going to do the same thing on this little leg, right in here. And now I'll do this little leg, right in there. And I'm just lifting a titch of that color, not much. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and start in with a little bum area. And with that, we'll use the script liner 10/0. And let's see. We'll go in, we'll start with all of the yellow bits. And so I'm going to take a little water and put it on I went in with the brilliant light and then dipped it in my water to make it very transparent, like very diluted. Okay. We don't want to puddle it on there, just put a nice sheen of water. Now we'll go in with the raw sienna. And we'll just tap that in. And then kind of tap it in. There we go. Now we'll go in with the yellow ochre. Kind of just tap it in little places. I went a little too far with this, with the black color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go with my Bleedproof white. And I'm just going to tap in a little bit throughout here, and I'll press it in with my finger. And then I'll go over that again here in a little bit. I went a little too far down. There we go. Well, that is how I fix mistakes in my watercolor paintings. Okay, now I'm going to lift up a little bit of that color because it bled together a little too much. There we go. Kind of make it a little splotchy. Now I'm going to go into my black. I'll dilute it down a little bit to a lighter value. And we kind of connect right here to the body. Okay. Kind of leave that like that for now, and we'll come back to it. Now I'll take the brilliant light, a little bit of water with it like before, and I'll go into this next section. Okay, I'm going to pick up a little bit of that and just wipe it off with your paper towel. All right, and go into the raw sienna. I'm going to tap that in a few places. And then we'll go into the yellow ochre. Let that tap in. There we go. And we'll put in the little fuzzy lines here in just a little bit. I'm going to pick a little bit of this up. There we go. Grab just a little bit of water on that. There we go. Alright, now we'll go into the raw sienna. Yellow ochre. Just add a titch. Okay. I'll pick up a little bit of that. Alright, now we'll go into this bottom part. I picked up the brilliant light with a little bit of water again. Okay. We'll go into the raw sienna. Tap a little bit of that in. Then we'll go into the yellow ochre. Tap a little bit of that in. Okay. Now I'm going to take my little scrubber brush. I'm going to go in here. I'm going to scumble around the edge of this. Alright, now we'll go in with the liner brush into the raw sienna. I'm going to go ahead and pull in a few little hairs. Along each one. They don't have to be like very thin lines, just kind of tap in some lines there. There we go. I need to reshape my brushes. They're a hot mess. Along the top and bottom, just little lines. There we go. Now we'll go into the what is it? The yellow ochre. And we're going to go ahead and tap in some yellow ochre along this bottom here. A little bit along the top. All the way up to that black. Kind of blend it in with the black. There we go. We'll go in with the yellow ochre here. Let's put in little lines. Just kind of tapping it in. It's okay if it goes over the line of the trace thing that we did. That's okay. We'll blend this in here in just a second. And along with some more blending up here. There we go. Now I'm going to go in with my script liner 10/0, which is a little bigger. And I'm going to go into the John Brilliant Light. Add a little water to that. It's drying up. And there we go. Now I'm going to go in the center here of both and kind of blend it in. There we go. I'm going to blend that in there too. There we go. And we'll blend that out together more once we get the black in there, but for now we're going to work up here a little bit more. And I'm going to use, let's see, I think I'm going to go ahead and use my scrubber brush for that. So this is going to be scary because you put all that work into this, so let's go ahead and make a very damp brush. Very damp. We want to blend in between the black and the color. Just along that edge. Let that sit. I had let that sit for a while so it could fully dry before going into doing this. And then we're going to do that same thing with the little top of the head there. Kind of go in where the black and the color mixes. Top and bottom here. Kind of pull them into one another. Same thing right here. There we go. I'm going to rinse my brush. I'm going to do the same thing right here around this little face. And then tap it in with the little side of my brush. Then I'm going to go along this edge. And I will add a little bit more black there, but it needs to be a little bit smoother for this little face. There we go. Now I'll take the very light value of my black. So it's watered down ivory black. And I'm going to drop in a little bit throughout here where we just put that, where we just scrub that out. There we go. I'm going to rinse my brush. I'm going to go ahead and take a damp brush, tap in the outer edges here. I'm going to tap it in along this edge so it's not such a harsh edge. Much better. Okay. Now we need to connect the body to the bum area. So I'm going to take a little bit of the black. I'm going to add a little bit of water to this. Dilute the color down just a little bit. Okay. Now we'll connect it. And we'll just kind of tap that in. About right there. And that goes all the way down to this next black color. There we go. We'll let that dry and I'll see what I'll do to touch that up. Now we're going to work in this area. So we're going to pull little black bits from the top. And then we'll go in from the top down into the next section. And we're going to do this in different layers. And then we'll go in with a deeper black color as well. Okay, so I'm going to leave this to dry and work on the next one. And so we'll go ahead and, ooh, my tummy's growling. Ooh, dang it. There we go. I got out of my line just a little bit. That's okay. You go into that yellow, which is fine because they're going to blend into one another. There's a little bit too much paint in my brush or on my paper. Alright, kind of just tap that in. I'm going to leave that like that for now. There we go. You probably hear my puppy. And there we go. Take a little bit of that off. The more layers you put, the more realistic it'll get. Okay. So now I'm going to go ahead in with a full strength black with my liner brush. Putting little lines to connect this. There we go. And I'll go ahead and pull a few little lines into the mixing white that we put down. Not mixing white, bleed-proof white. Can't believe I keep doing that. Go up just a little bit. There we go. There we are. I'll go into the darkest value. Now, when I go into it, I'll put it little tiny lines when I connect the two with the black. from the bottom and the top. And you can connect them a little bit, make them thicker. And do the same thing here, but make it a little chunkier. And bring in a couple little bits. There we go. And so we'll come down in little clumps and then little hairs. Okay. Bring up little hairs on this one. And then we're going to go on the outside so you can make the line because we're going to make that line fluffier. Okay. Now I'm going to go into with my liner brush, or script liner. I'm just going to tap in or put in right here in the center. There we go. And we'll make the transition better here in just a minute. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and turn my painting. I'm going to go into the let's see, yellow ochre. Had to re-wet it just a little bit. Okay. I'm going to fling out a couple little hairs here. You want your brush nice and wet for that, so it flows off very light hand. Not very many, just enough. And then we'll go in between these little black sections and kind of fling out a little bit of hairs right onto that black. Okay, we'll do that down here. Fling out a few little hairs right on top of the black. There we go. And then that's a little too wet, I think. Let's see. Oh, it's doing it. Okay. I'm going to pull in a little bit up here. If yours is too wet, you can stop to blow dry, which I think I'm going to do so I don't ruin it. Alright, I'm going to blow dry this right quick. Stop. Remember, when you blow dry, make sure that you're using cold air when you're using any type of tape. I use the FrogTape. It's a delicate surface and it's got a very low tack to it, and it's way cheaper than I found anything else because I can tear it. I can tear it down the sides and make 2 strips out of one. It's really thick, so I can make 2 strips out of 1 strip, and it works really well. It's listed in the description below as well. So let me finish with my little flicks here and down. So I'm going to pull up a few. Make sure it's nice and fluid. Where are we at? Right here. And we're going to be going over this one more time. Kind of pull some down into the black. And we'll deepen up the black down here a little better with some brush strokes. Go ahead all the way to this edge. There we go. And then I'm going to pull a few little hairs out at an angle. And the more you layer, the more realistic it's going to get. That's all it's about, is just continuing to put layers on top of layers. Now I'm going to go into the light, the brilliant light, the Jean Brilliant Light. And I'm going to go ahead and light up some of this. I'm pulling it from the center up and then from the center down. And they're very translucent because you're going over black, but it makes a difference. Now I'm going to go in with my flat brush and I'm going to get it very damp. And I'm going to tap in. You can see that. I'm just going to tap directly on top of those lines in the center, down the center of each strip, to kind of blend them in together. I'm kind of pushing it back. There we go. Now I'm going to take the black with my liner brush. Oh goodness, that is drying so fast. Here we go. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to keep it sideways so I can go both directions easily. So I'm going to pull in from down here, kind of up just a little bit, very lightly, small little areas. Gonna pull it down. And then this way we'll come up just a little bit in a couple of little areas. There we go. And then let's see. Kind of come up. There we go. Now we're going to put in the little hairs coming off the back. And it'll make it look more rounded instead of just a flat line. There we go. And then we'll go along this edge all the way down, kind of like a, not quite a C, but a very wide C, kind of going with the direction of the growth of the fur. And then let's see, this side we did that as well on the other painting, so let's see. Or I did. There we go. So kind of pull down on this edge where all the black is, just a little bit. We'll go in with the yellow ochre, and we're going to pull out just a little bit. Not much on the yellow ochre. Then we'll go into the black. To get it a darker value. There we go. Kind of pull out just a little bit, just little fuzzies. And then in here, we're going to go ahead and kind of pull some black lines down. There we go. And the more you layer that, the more realistic it's going to get. Alright, now we're going to go into the wings. Let's see, which one? Let's see. I think I'm going to go with my Pointed Oval Wash number 2 by Master's Touch. And I'm going to go into a very, very light value of the, which one is it? It's an indigo, I believe. Yep, indigo. Like a very light value of indigo. That might be even a little too dark. I'll add a little bit more water. Maybe there was another color in my brush when I did that. So what I'll do is I'll just pick up some indigo We'll put a new blob down right there. Don't take much to do these wings. Okay. Let's try and get a, yeah, there must have been black in this brush. I need to clean my brushes and reshape them. Alright, so now I'm just going to go in with this. And we can always darken it if it's not dark enough. Yeah, we'll need to darken it just a little bit. Go all the way up. Okay. I'm just putting a very light wash. There we go. Now I'm going to go in with a little bit more of that. It's still a light wash, just not as light. We can always pick it up if we need to. And like pick up some of the color. There we go. Let's see. Make sure you can see it. Let's put a light wash of color. So now I'm going to let this dry before we go into the next wing. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and pick up some of that color, make it more diluted. I grabbed some water, I put it on my paper, and I'm just grabbing from the center. There we go, bring that all the way up to there. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and blow dry this, and I will do the next wing. Okay, so now we're going to go in with the next wing, and I'm going to go straight into this lighter value of the indigo. Okay, and that actually goes all the way up to there, so I'm going to start it right here. And there we go. And turn my painting. Go along that edge, just where the hair starts. And I'll fill this in with hair here in a minute and add our highlights. I know with watercolor you're supposed to paint around the white spots so that the highlights are naturally there, but I don't do that. Okay, so I went in with a darker value of the indigo. I'm going to go ahead and drop that in. And pull that all the way to the edges, and then I'm going to take some water. My nose is running. Here we go. And we'll let that dry, and I'm going to work on this while that dries. Okay, let's see. We're going to go in with a liner brush. I'm going to go in with a raw sienna. And we're going to go all the way up to here, like it's going behind the wing. Gonna fling it all the way to the edge here. I didn't go all the way up to it earlier because I don't want them to blend, and I didn't want it to get into the wing. So that is the yellow ochre. Just dab in a couple little spots. And I'll do the same thing again, raw sienna. There we go. Now we'll take a little bit of the yellow ochre. There we go. I'm going to take the yellow ochre and I'm going to kind of dab it in a few places where it needs to be blended a little better. There we go. Same thing coming up. There we go. Now I'm going to take my Bleedproof white. It's completely dry. Like there's a, well, it's not completely, but it is drying up. So I'll add a couple blobs to that to get it re-wet. Blobs of water. Just love my painting terminology. There we go. Now I'm going to put in a few little highlights here and there. Very lightly, with a very light hand. And there we go. Okay. There we go. Now we'll come down a little bit. Pull a little bit through there. There we go. There we go. Brighten that up a little bit. Now we're going to do the same thing down here. Let me turn my painting. I'm going to just very lightly add a few little highlights. And if they're too much, we can push them back. Now I just use my finger to push it back. So I'll do the same thing, coming from the center in. Just grab a few little bits. Center out. Kind of push that back a little bit, kind of dulls the white out a little. Now we'll go from the center up, a couple little and I can go over this with the lighter yellow to dull it out just a little bit. There we go. Make sure you like that, like how it is. I'm gonna maybe pull a couple little pieces through this tail end here. Okay. Now we will go in, and I'm gonna go in with a darker value of the indigo. And I'm gonna just put in a couple pieces that need to be darker, just here and there, very lightly. So we'll put one there. We'll put one at the tip right here. We'll go at the tip right here. And then let's see, we'll come in right here. Go there. I'll go along this underside. Let's darken that up. And there we go. And then we'll go in just a titch right there. I think that should be about good. Okay, I'll go a little darker right in here. There we go. Now I'm going to blow dry this and we'll start on the background. Okay, so now we're going to go in with the background with a golden fluid iridescent fine. I just put that right here on my palette. It washes right out of my ceramic palette. And I'll use the same, oh, I got it all over my fingers now. I'll use the same liner brush that I was using with my watercolors. I will mix my watercolor and acrylic brushes together, but I will never use oil brushes with any other medium. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and turn this. And then, so just slightly. And I know that they make watercolor paints that are iridescent and shimmery. I don't have any, so I'm use what I have. We did that on both of my bee paintings that I've done. I use this. I might need to add a little water to that. I can't remember if I watered it down before or not. I'm going to add a little water. I'm just going to mix that into the whole thing. Make it a little bit more fluid. And this is the longest process is painting in each of these little honeycombs, but it's worth it because the painting's so pretty when it's done. It's definitely flowing off my brush better with. Just make sure that you kind of, well, we should be working from this way down so that my hand don't go in the paint. Or from top down. Okay. it's okay if some of the lines are a little thicker and some are a little thinner. Remember that when you trace out your traceable, that you use the gray graphite paper, not the black, and use a gum eraser. I use Faber-Castell, and it's really good. This is the best eraser. And lift up as much of the lines as you can with still being able to see the lines. Kind of roll it to a tip, your paintbrush. Let's see. So this comes to here. To a point. There we go. The Phoenix watercolor paints, I also have them in my description below the video. Is all of my watercolor supplies. I'm really liking the Fuumuui, or however you pronounce it, watercolor brushes. They do hold a good load of paint instead of having to always use liner brushes that don't hold as much paint. So now you're going to go straight over the wings. There we go. And then we will go to this one. Make sure you can see that good. On my Poppy watercolor painting, I'm doing a giveaway of that painting once I reach 20 subscribers on my YouTube channel. All you have to do is comment below your name and stating that you want to join, and then join the draw, and then I will pick out a person. I'll post the name of the person in the comment section of that video, as well as in my Facebook group for the love of art. I'm going to be doing a few giveaways. I'm just trying to get a following before I start into too many. I have some art supplies that I'm going to be giving away, things like that. I'm super excited about. I'm getting my studio set up so I can start recording acrylic paintings as well. Acrylic was the very first medium that I started in many years ago. I learned it from how to paint off of YouTube from quite a few different YouTube artists. Now my watercolor, I'm self-taught. I haven't watched any tutorials. If you hear dogs in the background, that is Benny and Bailey. They're my Maltese pups. And then I have 2 livestock guardian dogs that are Great Pyrenees for my little farm that we just started up about a year and a half ago. And their names are Maggie and Willow. They're good girls. And my window to my art studio is right there in the middle of the farm, so I have my Mouser cats, which are really my farm cats, and they come up to my window and meow at me through the window. And if I'm recording, I'm like, no! There we go. There we go. I don't know why my nose is so runny today. Okay, so go right up to the edge of him. Let's see. Okay, so here we're going to go that one looks a little funny. It should be down further, but it's okay. We'll leave it like that. All right. Okay. I underestimated how far up this one goes. So we'll just leave it like that. Oh, I got it in my little leg. I don't know if I can remove that. There we go. Just slow and steady. There we go. Oh, that one was a little thick. That's okay. Kind of roll it to a tip so it don't go on so thick. There we go. Okay, let's see. Go. So this is our bumblebee painting. I guess it would be considered mixed media because I am using acrylic paints and Bleedproof white. I thank you guys so much for joining me and watching this video. If y'all have any questions while you're painting along, feel free to reach out in the comment section or on my Facebook group, and I'll be more than happy to help you through it. And I'm going to start signing my paintings with a Micron pen because they are artist grade and they're archival. And it's so much easier to sign a watercolor painting with a pen than in paint. There we go. And there it is. It is completed. It's done. I hope y'all enjoyed this lesson. And if you have any suggestions on what you would like to learn next, please reach out and let me know. Thank you guys, and y'all have a blessed, wonderful day. Thank you so much for watching. Please comment, like, and subscribe.